best soccer movies ever made. From documentary to drama, these capture the essence of the beautiful game.
Der Ball ist rund und ein Spiel dauert 90 Minuten.
The goal that changed a nation. A genius on the field of play. Female pros facing the game of their lives. Or Iranian women fighting for the right to see a match. Those are moments for the big screen. Stories like these told on film have been collected by Philipp Köster, who publishes 11 Freunde, 11 Friends, a magazine about the culture and subculture of football. Just in time for the World Cup, he has brought out a special edition of 6 very different soccer classics from recent years.
Football films have developed rapidly. 30 years ago, they were dominated by amateurish match scenes, with little creativity about what you can show in a football film, and how this exciting game can be captured on celluloid. Today, it's a different world. Football films are much closer to the game itself. The editing is fast. You're right in the midst of the action.
Maradona by Kusturica is Serbian director Emir Kusturica's view of the man many call the greatest footballer of all time, Diego Maradona.
Mi sueños son dos. Mi primer sueño es jugar en el Mundial y el segundo es salir campeón.
Maradona realized both of those dreams in Argentina. But after he had reached the top, he began to go off the rails. Kusturica succeeds in showing a relaxed and private Maradona. When you look at these images, it's hard to recall that Maradona's career was marked by years of personal breakdowns, eating problems and drug abuse.
Kusturica idolizes Maradona. He makes no secret of that, and that's the basic tenor of the whole film. As a result, we feel close to this amazing footballer. We get an insight into a world we know nothing about, because although many of his scandals were played out publicly, Maradona has remained a puzzle. I think Kusturica gets closer than most to explaining the mystery of this fascinating person.
Yo tengo esa sensación de que quería salir y no podía. O sea, ¿me entendés? Eran todos coágulos negros de sangre, pero que el de arriba me dijo, vení, Diego, todavía no. Todavía no. Tenés que seguir luchando. Tenés que seguir luchando.
Offside is an Iranian film that takes a very different look at the game. It won a Silver Bear at the Berlin Film Festival in 2006.
Offside is an unusual football film. It doesn't focus on major players or fans, but it looks at a group of Iranian women who are determined to go to a football match, although women are banned from stadiums in Iran. They disguise themselves, but they're caught and watched by the religious police. The football element is there. You hear the match going on in the background.
عجب بازن 1000 تا حرف بد میزنه.
قول میدیم گوشامونو بگیریم هیچ چی نشنویم. خوبه.
میفهم استادیوم جای زنان نیست. سرکار چی شده؟ گل زدن؟
Through this little football-related window, we learn a great deal about the situation of the people in Iran. This film unites two fascinating things. It links football with a touching and elegant critique of Iranian society.
Offside offers an unfamiliar perspective. In the end, the victory of the Iranian team unites the fans and the police. But the reality in Iran is very different. Director Jafar Panahi was held in prison until recently for criticizing the regime. The Best Women in the World is an inspiring documentary that leaves clichés behind. It's a portrait of the German women's soccer team that won the World Cup in 2007. It gives an intimate view of the team on its way to the final.
Ja, Leute, Martha, da hilft ja liebe Gott nicht mehr am Sonntag.
And it shows different cultural approaches to the game.
Before the final between Germany and Brazil, you see the German team waiting tensely to go out on the pitch. Then the Brazilians arrive dancing and celebrating, and they're singing and clapping their hands. You see two completely contrasting philosophies. And I also saw that I wanted the Germans to win. I think a lot of male football fans have trouble identifying with women's teams, but here it works.
The documentary has already become a classic.
Man redet schon darüber, warum es bei den Männern anders ist. Man kann jetzt nicht so viel Kohle ansparen, dass man danach sagt, cool, kaufen wir eine Villa in Afrika und dann ist die alles tutti, ja?
But when Germany is caught up in the thrill of soccer mania, the sex of the players is not so important.
Deutschland im Endspiel der Fußball-Weltmeisterschaft. Das ist ein echtes Fußballwunder.
Wir haben den Krieg verloren, wir verlieren auch dieses Endspiel.
The Miracle of BERN was the film that really launched the success of football-themed movies in German cinemas. It tells the story of how Germany won the 1954 World Cup, but it also tells a much bigger story than that.
The reason why football films are booming has to do with the role that soccer plays in society. It used to be a sport for the working classes and the lower middle class, but now it's followed by people from all sections of society, so it's logical for filmmakers to make films about football, the last great religion.
Over the next 4 weeks, the stuff of new footballing legends will emerge, and with it, new material for films about football. Diego Maradona, for one, will continue to write his story as coach for the Argentine national team.
Maradona's life was high drama, at times tragic and often a farce. We're giving away the Maradona documentary as part of this box set of 6 soccer films. And you also have a chance to win a real German classic, The Miracle of BERN. Just send us an email with your thoughts on our show. With a little luck, you can prolong that World Cup spirit. Here's our email address: kino@dw-world.de. 5 years ago, A Camel's Tears moved audiences worldwide. The Story of the Weeping Camel was the first film from Mongolian director Byambasuren Davaa. It was a box office hit and received an Oscar nomination. Davaa studied in Germany, but Mongolia is the star of her films. That's especially true in her latest work, Two Horses of Genghis Khan. We met up with the fascinating director as she toured Germany with her latest production. Mrs. Davaa, this is the 3rd film about Mongolia. Do you see it as a duty in your films to constantly explore and rediscover this country with all its contradictions?
Meine Lebensaufgabe ist würde ich
I wouldn't call it my duty. Looking back, I'd say it's a chronology of my country. In my first film, we were with a nomad family outside civilization. In the second film, we're in a young family that's thinking about whether to move to the city or not. And in the third film, we've arrived in the city.
A hotel room in the Mongolian capital, Ulaanbaatar. Orna, a singer, wants to fulfill her grandmother's dying wish. Carved into the neck of a broken horsehead violin are the notes to a song. While the violin maker tries to repair the instrument, Orna sets off to find the lost song called The Two Horses of Genghis Khan. The film plays like a road movie, as director Byambasuren Davaa takes us through the unspoiled landscape of Outer Mongolia. Picturesque landscapes, bizarre rock formations, wild horses filmed in slow motion. It sometimes borders on kitsch. But that's exactly what audiences love about her films. Your films have been very successful. They traveled to festivals and won prizes all around the world. What have been your experiences with international audiences?
I
think maybe what appeals to a Western audience about my films is that, first of all, the stories are simple. Secondly, the life is simple, and the way Mongolians live, in harmony with nature. Maybe that's what Western audiences are longing for.
Along the way, the director peers into the everyday lives of Mongolians, caught between tradition and the modern world. Orna visits a nomadic family which breeds horses. White horse's hair is said to give a violin a very soft sound, but no one can remember the lost song.
Oh, би бас давхар учиртай явж байна. Дуулдаг өөрөө.
За би ч нэг сайн дуучин ч юм биш дээ.
Тэжин бүгдээ хоёрж байгаа л гэдэг дууг мэдтгүү.
Тэрий чинь дуулсан болохоос сайн мэдхгүй.
Most of the people Orna asks don't know the song of the two horses. How important is traditional music in Mongolia today?
The people of Mongolia have used music as a means of survival, both to comfort their own souls and for the animals. But that's getting less and less common.
Orna is ready to give up her search. But then she hears of an old woman in the mountains who can remember the song. And so, in the end, Orna fulfills her grandmother's final wish and saves a piece of Mongolia's musical tradition. From the quiet mountains of Mongolia, we dive into the city surf. A documentary about urban wave riders launches our shortcuts.
We jumped in the wagon with the folks on the feet. The smile gets bigger, we arrive at the beach.
Forget California or Hawaii. The perfect wave is right here, smack in the middle of Munich. The Bavarian capital is a mecca for surfers, and the documentary Keep Surfing is a portrait of a group of dedicated river riders. The film conveys the feeling of the surfing craze that started on the Eisbach River in Munich over 30 years ago. The director himself is an Eisbach enthusiast. Björn Ritchie Loeb had to work hard to convince his surfing friends to let him film them.
There was a rule that you stop surfing when someone shows up with a camera. The surfers didn't want people to know about it, in case the wave got too crowded.
It may now feature in every Munich travel guide, but Loeb takes an authentic, close-up look at the members of a movement ruled by one passion.
The capital of river surfing, Munich, Germany.
Keep Surfing is a gripping film with spectacular pictures, conveying the sheer physical joy of surfing in the heart of the city. The premiere of a children's classic, Hani and Nanny, as Enid Blyton's popular The Twins at St. Clair's series is known in Germany.
Welcome to the city where the fun won't stop.
The 6 volumes provide an endless store of adventures with the Sullivan twins. After one disaster too many, their parents take action.
Ins Internat?
Lindenhof ist nicht irgendein Internat. Das ist ein ganz besonderer, ein magischer Ort.
The girls are less than thrilled by the idea.
Heben wir unsere Gläser, Hannah und Annemarie Sullivan willkommen zu heißen.
Wir werden hier nicht lange bleiben. Ja, hab schon verstanden. Du willst was zu trinken.
The twins' antics turn the school topsy-turvy.
Porte est fragile comme elle est. Et tes chansons d'art.
Things are rarely boring when they're around.
Aber du hast Hausarrest. Was ist, wenn sie merkt, dass ich gar nicht du bin? Oh Mist, Honey. Na, wie war ich?
The Twins at St Clair's is pure children's entertainment with few pretensions. Trivial perhaps, but certainly fast-moving.
Super.
David is a lawyer. Franz is a bartender. Two 30-year-olds with little in common. But they're both having a relationship with Maria without knowing about each other.
Was bist du denn? Sowas wie Ihr Freund?
Richtig, ich bin Ihr Freund.
Aber Sie waren nicht immer da, oder? Vielleicht bin ich auch sowas wie Ihr Freund.
Hallo, hier ist Maria. Ich bin gerade nicht
When Maria suddenly disappears, the two rivals team up to search for her and ultimately discover themselves. Based on a novel, Cindy Doesn't Love Me is a parable about a confused generation. The Cindy of the title doesn't actually exist. She's more a feminine ideal.
Olaf Luther, Getze, Dänemark.
Dänemark.
At the end, they find not Maria, but her husband. And they're forced to realize that Maria loves only one person. Herself. With atmospheric imagery, at times somewhat overblown, Hannah Schweier's film tells about a longing we all share, the longing for love.
Last month, international movie VIPs gathered for the world's most important film festival in Cannes. Germany didn't have a film in the main competition, but German cinema was well represented in the festival's sidebars. We searched through the lineup and found the films that you won't soon forget. Here are our Cannes discoveries of 2010.
It's midday, an early start for a screening. But the film they've all come to see is 5.5 hours long. Carlos the Jackal was a high point at Cannes this year.
Mi nombre de guerra es Carlos. Porque esto es una guerra, y la guerra se pelea.
It's the story of a man who was once the most wanted terrorist in the world. Carlos, a cold-blooded killer, a seducer, a manager of organized violence. The most hunted fugitive of the 1970s and 80s.
Carlos war ein Charmeur und ein Träumer. Sein Vater wollte einen kommunistischen Revolutionär aus ihm machen und seine Mutter hat ihn zu einem Gentleman der High Society erzogen. Vielleicht war es diese Mischung, die uns Frauen so angezogen hat.
Hey, 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 hey! Hi! How are you? Welcome!
Carlos ist ein Söldner. Er ist unkontrollierbar.
The film explores the roots of global terrorism. Carlos was responsible for the attack on the 1975 OPEC conference in Vienna. He collaborated with the secret services of several Arab countries, with the East German Stasi and with the Soviet KGB. This biopic by Oliver Assayas is action-packed, convincing cinema.
In Wahrheit sind Leute wie Carlos nur Marionetten. Und die meiste Zeit wissen sie nicht mal, wer die Fäden zieht. Und finden es nie heraus.
Carlos is a Franco-German co-production. Producer Jens Meurer was responsible for the German actors and the locations in eastern Germany.
This film is expensive, nearly 100 days of shooting, actors from many different countries. Not even a Hollywood studio does that. If we team up in Europe, we can make big films that will be seen around the world.
Cannes 2010. In contrast to the sunny weather, sombre themes dominated on the screen. terrorism, poverty, mortality. But as always, the festival came alive with the glamour on the red carpet, that unique marriage of perfect timing and sex appeal. Hollywood director Oliver Stone came with superstar Michael Douglas. From Germany came veteran director Volker Schlöndorff to present the director's cut of his Tin Drum, winner of the Golden Palm in 1979. This year, Germany's presence in the competition was limited to co-productions, but there were exciting German films in other sections, like Pico, a disturbing work about young men in prison. Director Philipp Köster based his film on actual events, including a case of a young offender tortured and killed by fellow inmates in a German jail. Pico is a drama about the lives of young people trapped in the prison system, about bullying, physical abuse and even murder. Pico, the new boy in the cell, is faced with a stark choice: keep quiet or become a victim himself.
Komm schon, Henrik, lass den Scheiß.
Ihr beide geht an die Wand und haltet die Fresse.
Hey, er hat dir nichts getan, man hört doch.
Du gehst jetzt an die Wand und reißt die Fresse, sonst bist du dran.
Ist okay, hör doch auf, Mann, er hat doch genug Probleme. Kevin, einfach nicht hinsehen.
This
is really the first German movie to emphatically and critically address the juvenile prison system, and so it has the responsibility to show the reality. That means you can't leave out a real case like this one, which is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the problems. That would be like making the first ever film about the Titanic and neglecting to mention that the ship actually sank.
Philipp Köster shows the deplorable conditions in prison with harrowing realism.
Mach das nicht! Hör auf, Mann! Hör auf! Mach das nicht! Hör auf, Mann! Hör auf, bitte, hör auf, Mann! Du bist hier im Jugendknast, Mann. Keine Sau da draußen interessiert ist, ob du wegen Raub, Drogen oder Mord hier drin bist oder wie lange. Du hast verkackt. Wir alle haben verkackt, Mann. Es gibt gar kein draußen mehr. Machst du es jetzt? Hängst du dich jetzt weg?
Radical and disturbing, Pico is an important film that provokes debate and advocates change. To make it to Cannes, at least once in their lives. That wish was granted for these young directors and producers from Germany. 12 short films from German film schools screened in the Next Generation section. An initiative of the promotion service German Films, it offers young filmmakers a huge opportunity. Two of the short films that caught our eye were Jakob Frey's animated Bob and It's Me, Helmut by Nicolas Steiner.
Gertrud und ich feiern heute meinen 60. Ich bin 57.
It's a very special birthday. Helmut experiences one surprise after another. The most important stages of his life pass by, quite literally.
Ich habe sie dazu mal auf die Seite getan, nachdem du weggeschmissen hast.
Nicolas Steiner filmed this work in a single take. It's surprising, inventive, and full of delightfully absurd humour. Life on the treadmill and the discrepancy between perceptions and reality are the themes of the wonderful animated film Bob. It has a critical touch too. It's also about gene modification in the laboratory.
Hi, I'm Bob.
I've always been crazy about Pixar films. I know all the DVDs by heart. And suddenly, I'm in the thick of it. The Film Academy accepted me, and suddenly, I'm in the film world. And I'm making this kind of film. I love it. I can't imagine doing anything else.
And when it was all over, German Culture Minister Bernd Neumann joined the cast of Carlos, the lead actor from the prison drama Pico, and veteran filmmaker Volker Schlöndorff at the German Films Party. There was plenty to celebrate. No prizes, But all told, a good year for German cinema.
That's all for our show. We are back in July, where we'll track down the best summer film at the Ludwigshafen Film Festival. Until then, we'll see you at the movies.